Hey team, I have a resource here that I think will help you in your preparation for rehearsals. So without further ado, here are 4 activities that you can do. These are concrete activities you can do to be better prepared for rehearsal and ultimately our weekend services. All right, to start off with, number 1 is active listening. Active listening is one of those things that has to take place within an environment that is distraction free. This means that you have to fully focus on the task at hand. You can't just listen to a song while you're driving in the car or while you're doing some other type of house chores like cleaning or cooking or anything like that. Active listening means that you are fully engaged with the music and what's happening. Musical performance is a high level cognitive function. That means it takes a lot of focus and a lot of effort to make it happen. Musical performance involves something called muscle memory. Now, we're all familiar with this, and muscle memory isn't unique just to the music field, but it's something that gets talked about a lot. What's happening whenever you're developing muscle memory is that there's a part of your brain called the cerebellum, which is in charge of developing muscle memory. Now, this part of your brain isn't accessed unless you put a good amount of focus, accurate, repetitive effort in over time. Think of it this way. Here's a little axiom that'll kind of guide you in this. The more effort you put into your preparation, the less you have to expend in execution. Let me say that again. The more effort you put into preparation, the less you have to expend in execution. Now, the inverse of that is the less effort you put into preparation, the more effort you have to expend in execution. The less effort you put into preparation, the more you have to expend in execution. Now, what kind of tools do you need to be successful with this? Well, pretty simply, the first thing you need is sheet music. For most of the songs we do, if it's available, we upload a chord chart, a lead sheet, a choir chart, which includes usually 3 or 4 part harmony, and the horn charts. Number 2, you need a recording and a way to listen to that recording. And finally, you need a pencil and paper. You know, at this point, I've not said anything about an instrument or voice or anything like that. You start with those 3 simple tools and you're on your way. So what kind of tasks do you need to perform whenever you're engaged in active listening? Number 1, note the formal divisions within the song. This means verse, chorus, interlude, instrumental, bridge, bridge 1, bridge 2, bridge 3, things like that. You want to know how the song is laid out and basically what the terrain is going to look like as you go through the song. Second, note how long in measures each section lasts. So, you know, we've got a chorus for 8 measures, and then we've got we're going to go back into the verse, which is 16 measures, so on and so forth. Just know that whenever you've got your when you've got your terrain mapped out, you need to know how long you're going to spend in each section. This next one is vitally important. You need to note the dynamics. Now, I've noted through the years of the ensembles that I've worked with, one of the things that distinguishes good ensembles from truly great ensembles is how they handle dynamics. If you can handle dynamics in an artistic way, that takes you to a whole new level. So take note of what the dynamic changes are. Let me show you how I've done this on one of our recent songs. Let me pull this up here. Here's in Heaven. Recently was working out the keyboard part on this, keyboard and bass part, for this past weekend, Saturday and Sunday. This was September 16th and 17th, 2017. Here you'll see, and it's kind of hard to see there, but there you'll note kind of how I've written this out. Now, if you'll notice the section that says dynamics, that's kind of out of focus, but DYM, the section that says dynamics, you'll notice that I've given numerical value. And usually when I think of dynamics in more of a rhythm section type of setting, I'm not going to think of it in mezzo forte, piano, you know, forte, not in those terms. I think of it more numerically, from 1 being probably pianissimo to 10 being fortissimo. And I give just some type of numerical value to the dynamics so I know kind of where that is. This also gives you an idea of form and how, you know, what the climax of the piece is going to be, and maybe which section everything in the music is pointing toward, and what it points back to after you've passed that section. You also want to note any prominent features that may show up in your part. For example, if there's a melody line, you want to know the melody line. If you're playing electric guitar and you have an intro, you want to know that intro through and really nail it. Or maybe there's a drum solo, or there's a groove that's different that you're not used to playing. Make sure you note those features features and really focus on them. These are what give the song its character. Finally, you want to note the texture of the instrumentation and how you fit into the mix. Basically, that means how many instruments, which instruments are being used, what are they playing? You'll note that not everybody is playing the same thing. That tends to be boring or a little bit overbearing even. And so note what everyone's playing, what your part is playing, and how it fits into the overall mix. It should be said that you can be moderately successful if you skip this step. You can just pick up your instrument, figure out the song, and come to rehearsal, and you can be successful. And we've got chord charts and things like that, and the ability to look at music on iPads and you know, things like that during the service. But if you engage with this first activity, the active listening activity, you will move from being a good musician or being well prepared to getting into the category of excellence. And this is one of those distinguishing marks, is just active listening, making decisions ahead of time, noting where the important features of the music are. And I can't move on from this first point without giving homage to my college music theory professor. Every year for our ear training final, we had to write this quote that she gave us on the first day of theory. And this quote is, intelligent listening is the most important thing a musician does. No matter the level of accuracy or dexterity attained by an instrument or voice, success is ultimately determined by the ear's ability to guide the musical performance. That quote has always stuck with me, and whenever I'm approaching any type of performance, I always want to put my mind into it first before I engage my fingers or my voice or whatever it may be. All right, number 2 is what I like to call accurate duplication. Basically, what this means is learn your part as it's performed on the recording. The purpose for this is to give you a jumping off point whenever it comes to your part. Now, we'll talk about the creative side of your preparation here in the next point, but for now, you have to have a firm destination to kind of start with before you can begin to expand into other areas. As you're doing this, you need to ask yourself what role you're playing. Where do you fit in the overall mix? Are you melody, harmony, or rhythm? Now, you can play multiple roles at the same time, but being cognizant of these roles helps as you're developing your part. You also need to ask, are you playing a primary role or a supportive role? Here are some examples of that. First of all, in many instances, the kick and the bass drum, they are both focused on rhythm. When it comes to playing tight and being in the pocket, we talk about that a lot. But when it comes to that, having a kick drum and a bass player who are both playing the same thing and synced up really tightly, that just adds to the groove or the overall feel of the music. Additionally, the hi-hat and the acoustic player, they have to be in sync as far as how they're playing. They're both very high as far as frequency range is concerned. They're both playing very high tinty sounds, and so we want those sounds linked up. That goes into the overall rhythm. Additionally, piano and acoustic, you guys team up on harmony. You need to make sure that your harmonies are accurate and the same, and that if you need to be playing in the same range, that you're playing complementary things, and if you need to play some things that contrast, that you're using different ranges or maybe different voicings of the chord. And then you have frontline, choir, the horn section, the lead electric player. You guys are all handling melody and harmony, and at times you're supporting one another. Some of you play supportive roles, some of you are playing a primary role at different times. As you're preparing your part, ask yourself, where do I fit into the mix? This is all about blend and balance. Here are some of the tools you'll need. Obviously, you need your instrument or your voice. You'll need a recording of the song and the ability to play it above your instrument or voice. This is important so that you're not drowning out the other part that's being played. And you'll need a metronome. Let me show you my app that I use for metronome. I've got a couple different ones. I've got one or two that I keep at the office and some that I keep at home. But this app right here, I take with me everywhere. It's just called Metronome. This is, let me show you what the little favicon looks like on it. You'll see it right there, Metronome. This is not a great shot. It's the one that has a number 1 on it. So if you hit Metronome, you open it up, this is what the app looks like. It's a great tool. It's very customizable, does everything that I need it to do. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've downloaded it. It might cost $2 or $3, but excellent tool. If you don't want to pay money, there are definitely free resources out there. Go look on the App Store. That's an excellent tool. The main thing is, make sure you have it. We use a click for every single song that we do now. And so being in the habit of constantly playing with a metronome is very crucial. All right, number 3, and this is probably my favorite part, and it's something that I like to call creative modification. This is where you get to be creative. This is where you get to bring something new to the music that hasn't existed before, or a style that you prefer to play whenever you're approaching the music. Ask yourself this question: what can I bring to this song that enhances its artistry? What can I bring to this song that enhances its artistry? This is really going to rely on your experience as a musician. It's going to pull from past songs that you've played or different styles that you prefer to play in. And we're going to encourage you to bring that to your preparation. Not only is it, does it enhance your soul as you're getting to pour more of yourself in, but it really does create a unique experience for our congregation on the weekends. The important thing to keep in mind here, though, is that less is more. It is so easy to continue piling things on, or to continue adding here or there, or you know, just a little more ornamentation here or a little more texture here. And you have to be as effective as you possibly can be with as few resources as possible. That doesn't have to do with economics or anything like that. That really just has to do with artistry and creating something that is whole in and of itself without having additional add-ons that don't add to the beauty of the song. The good news is you only need one tool to accomplish this. The bad news is it takes a long time to get the tool, and that is experience and the ability to take risks. You can't shortcut experience. You can't shortcut risk tolerance. You just have to, over time, force yourself to step outside of your comfort zone and try new things that you've never tried before. And here's the final thing that you can do to enhance your preparation for midweek rehearsals. Take everything that you've done so far and move it to your permanent storage. Now, in the first point, we talked about muscle memory, moving everything to the cerebellum and making sure that you develop the ability to recall that information without having to expend an exorbitant amount of effort. This means that accurate repetition is king. Repeating things accurately time and time again is king. Here's something really practically you can do. Play your part 10 times through without any mistakes before you come to rehearsal. Now, you can do this with music or without music. The idea here is to have 10 consecutive times accurate without any mistakes in a row. So that means if you get to number 9 and you flub or make a mistake, start all over again. All that does is just build up your muscle memory. When I was in school and going through and studying different instruments, there were some teachers who said, you need to play it through 100 times. Well, that's true. That does build more muscle memory, but here I think 10 times is going to suffice, and it's definitely going to give you a big return on investment. This will allow you to get out of your head and get into the moment. You know, we're creating environments, we're creating opportunities to for people to connect to the purpose for which they were created, and we want to give full effort and full focus to that. When you're thinking about your part, when you're thinking about what chord changes next or which lyric is coming next, or you know, if the melody goes up here or goes down here. When you're thinking about those things, you relieve yourself of the opportunity to just be present in the moment and to sense what's happening in the room and be a part of leading through that. This is really about us being more effective as leaders in our weekend services. So I hope this helps. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. If there are ideas here that I've not mentioned that you think are helpful, also put those in the comments below. Enjoy practicing.